So what is going on right now? Because Trump was basically giving clear indications. There was all kinds of reports in the press that he's ready to strike Iran. And that was basically a strong sense of what we were getting from his statements, from the media. And then he comes out saying this, and the messaging should be different. I want to show you what he said in a second, but I then want to unpack what's going on here. Is Trump about to blink? Is he about to potentially back down, de-escalate? Or is this just all part of the 4D chess unpredictable game that he's playing? Let's see if we can try and make sense of this. First of all, he says this.
We have been notified and pretty strongly, but we'll find out what that all means. But we've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or an execution or executions. So I've been told that on good authority. We'll find out about it. I'm sure if it happens, we'll all be very upset, including you will be very upset. But that's just gotten to me, some information that the killing has stopped, that the executions have stopped. They're not going to have an execution, which a lot of people were talking about for the last couple of days. Today was going to be the day of execution.
So a lot of people that want to see the Iranian regime fall, people around the world of good conscience, and certainly Iranians themselves, would have looked at this and thought, whoa, what's going on here? It's hard to believe that Trump even believes this. Yes, it may well be Iran have said, okay, we're not going to execute this, some of the protesters to try and negotiate with Trump. But surely he knows, as we all do, that they have been massacring thousands of Iranians. They have been removing their internet access to basic utilities of, electricity, etc. This is, the question on people's minds is this Trump, for some reason, deciding it's not worth doing the attack? Because clearly he can't just be like, yeah, Iran are fine now. Surely that's not what's going through his head. So many are speculating that perhaps instead what's going on here is either an assessment that he doesn't think it could be successful, or an assessment that maybe he just is going to play off and be unpredictable and just make people, leave them guessing, basically, because he has a bit of a history and track record of doing that, as do Israel, by the way, for that matter. Let's get some more of the details on this. The report from Mossad Commentary is that the US strike on Iran was called off at the last minute. According to Walla military analyst Amir Bobot, Trump personally intervened last night to halt a planned US strike on Iran. We don't, by the way, know of all the facts here. This is just what's being reported. Since then, Iranian airspace has reopened. Assets scrambled from Al Udeid Air Base were ordered to return and remain on standby. The mission was reportedly cancelled minutes before execution. Why? Trump has told advisors he will only authorize action that delivers a decisive blow to the Iranian regime. Officials could not guarantee regime collapse after a strike and warned the US may lack sufficient regional assets to counter a major Iranian retaliation. The bottom line is there's no strike without certainty. Iran remains on the brink, not yet over it. Iran Observer reports Iran has reopened its airspace to civilian traffic. Apparently, America wanted to attack but did not, and Trump is calling an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. Dr. Ellie David wrote about this as well, saying that critical intel on radar sites and defense protocols and leadership locations have been gained by the fact that they triggered a full Iranian mobilization and then, signaling an attack and then pull back. And his prediction is that the US will use these insights to perfect its actual strike plan, which will take another few days. Don't forget that before the 12-day war commenced, Trump also was kind of toing and froing, and he said, yeah, I'll be in talks with Iran, and then kind of was a bit harsher and then a bit softer. And then it came a little bit by surprise, the action. So whether there's 4D chess or not going on here, my instinct is probably yes, there is. And as Ellie David also wrote about this point, this could be a great sign that Trump wants to deliver a decisive blow and not just an attack to check the box, that he wants absolute certainty. So hard to know exactly what's going on here, hard to distinguish truth from falsehood here. We saw another report here that the Pentagon was ready to have troops return to the Al Udeid base after Trump's remarks on Wednesday afternoon, according to a US military official who called the president's comments an off-ramp. Long-range bombers in the US had been put on alert to conduct secondary strikes if needed, but that appeared to have been paused as on Wednesday afternoon. But after Mr. Trump's remarks on Wednesday afternoon, the Pentagon was ready to have troops return to the base. That's just being repeated there. Now, Bill Ackman wrote, "This could suggest that a deal has been made and we are standing down so Khamenei family can feel comfortable exiting safely. The IRGC halts the killing, we stand down, Khamenei evacuates to Russia or an alternative safe haven. Just speculating, I welcome the experts' views." That's what Bill Ackman, a huge philanthropist and investor, had to say in America. UK reports saying Trump has made up his mind, and this is actually coming from Israeli Channel 14, that the strike will come even if it's delayed by a few days. So it's all just quite unpredictable what's going to happen right now. South Asia Index said Saudi Arabia has told Washington it won't allow its airspace or land to be used for any strikes against Iran. Now, why is that? Also, the timing of this is quite interesting. You know, we're hearing this as the potential de-escalation is happening. So it's kind of an easy thing to say in the aftermath of that, not before. So again, all a bit shady. Now, it's also being reported that senior Iranian regime officials are secretly moving millions out of Iran as panic spreads inside the leadership. And the US is tracking these transfers and planning to seize the funds. Again, this is another example of the regime clearly losing control. Tusi TV, Maya Tusi, an Iranian commentator, also explained how he's seeing reports that over $1.5 billion to escrow accounts in Dubai in just the last few days, with more assets shifted into gold and cryptocurrency being transferred as the country burns leadership appears to be preparing escape. And Tusi also speculated that Trump's move was genius because the IRGC's emergency protocols were exposed while American troops continued their journey towards the Middle East in the next few days. Too late for Khamenei to create alternative plans. Again, this is all speculation. It's hard to distinguish truth from falsehood. And so the question now becomes, what's going to happen? All I can say from the perspective over here is that it seems to me that it should not be a question of if, but simply a question of when. Why? Because this is an evil regime that is seeking to continue to do evil, not just to its own people, but to the region and to the world. And therefore, morally speaking, we have a duty to stand up to this and put a stop to it. You know, it's funny, some people say, no, we need pacifism, we can't have more war, more problems, more bloodshed, more violence. That's escalation, that's always bad. Regime change, blah, blah, blah. You know, I remember having a fascinating discussion with my rabbi, Manis Friedman. And he said that people that say I'm against war, they often also tend to say, I want to fix the world. I want to make it better. I believe we can make this world better. But he said, actually, there's no difference. If you believe that the world as it is not good enough, and it needs fixing, it needs repairing, it needs changing, that you want to go into the world and transform evil into good or destroy evil and create good and sustain good and nurture good, you believe in going to war. War is, we have a problem that needs fixing, removing, replacing, dealing with, addressing. That's what going to war is. It can descend, if you have no other choice, into physical military war. But be in no doubt that that is another form of repairing and fixing the world. Sometimes it's deeply tragic and painful, but it's what we call a necessary pain. People say it's far too cliched to always bring in World War II, but that gives us one of the most striking examples there. What if the Allies decided not to wage war against Nazi Europe? What would the world look like today? War sometimes, painful as it may be, is a form of repairing and fixing this world. And as I say, think strategically, act strategically, but it seems clear to me that if you're there to go to war to actually fix this world, to defeat evil, surely you'll be blessed in that approach, in that mission. The Islamic Republic of Iran. For over 4 decades, its leaders have stood defiantly, their voices thundering through Tehran's streets, chanting death to Israel and waging a relentless war on the West. But what fuels this fierce, unyielding hatred? Is it politics? A grab for regional power? Or something even more profound? A theology that casts Israel and the West as cosmic enemies in a divine battle for the end of days. In this JTV Plus documentary, we embark on a journey to unravel the apocalyptic beliefs at the core of Iran's revolution. We'll uncover the sacred Shia doctrines that prophesy a world reborn through chaos, where a hidden redeemer, the Mahdi, will rise to vanquish evil, with Israel and America as the ultimate foes. We'll dive deep into the mystical visions of a global Islamic order, where martyrdom and jihad pave the path to divine victory. We'll explore how these ancient beliefs shape Iran's every move, from its fiery rhetoric to its deadly proxy wars. From the revolutionary sermons of Ayatollah Khomeini, who ignited a nation, to the shadow wars of spies, cyber attacks, and missiles that have pushed the region to the brink. We'll trace the arc of a regime bent on reshaping history, and we'll reveal the climactic moment when Israel struck back with Operation Rising Lion, a daring, high-stakes operation that shook the world and redefined the conflict. This is not just the story of a nation, but of a creed that seeks to rewrite the future, a conflict that threatens to engulf us all. Join us as we expose the hidden truths behind what Iran sees as its sacred mission, its unrelenting rage, and the battle for our world's destiny. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.